Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of IBL on Deck, sponsored by Rawlings. My name is Jackson Farough. Great to be with you once again for another episode. Again, we took another week off last week. I apologize for that, but it is great to be back. And today we're going to take a trip down the 403 and speak with Reece Doumani, Brantford's new play-by-play commentator. Now, he's had a long history with the Brantford Red Sox organization, so we're really excited to chat with him today. And as we continue our team-by-team series here, be sure to post a comment in the chat if you'd like, if you have a question or anything else, or just a nice little comment that you may have. Without further ado, let's bring in Reece. There we go. Hey, Reece, how are you today?
I'm doing well, Jackson. How are you?
I'm good. I thank you for joining us today. It's really awesome to be able to chat with someone from Brantford and a media person as well. Media guys got to help each other out. So really appreciate you joining me. I want to start with you because I read that you actually played for the Red Sox. So tell us about that and just a little bit about your baseball journey on the field that preceded the one now off of it.
Yeah, so like most guys who make it to this level, you start when you're 4 years old, 5 years old, and of course, the years of T-ball, right? So I really enjoyed T-ball, played 5 years. It was awesome.
Right.
But yeah, moved my way up. I lived in a few places, lived in Windsor. So played for the South Canadians, played for the Cambridge Cubs, Ancaster Cardinals. And then when I got to Brantford, just before grade 9, I started playing in my major Bantam year, I guess it was, for the Brantford Red Sox. So, played throughout midget and junior, and my first year of junior is kind of where I got a little bit of playing exposure with the big club, and that it was just more of like to get myself used to catching guys who threw 85, 90 miles an hour, because you don't see that in junior really, especially in the loop that Brantford's in. So catching pens in my first 2 years of junior was kind of where I was at. I got a couple at bats, but not too big. I didn't get any hits, more walks, Ks, ground outs, what have you. But and then I guess it would have been my third year junior, I guess in 2019, the last year that we could actually play competitive baseball. I played in 10 games, just the opportunity presented itself. And Kevin Hussey, the manager at the time, liked the way I looked in my first 2 games that I played. So he said, whenever you're not, because my priority was with the junior club, obviously. So he said, whenever you're not playing for them, we'd love to have you here. You'll be in the lineup. You'll be catching. So, that's kind of where I was at. I wasn't the greatest hitter of all time, sub 150 batting average. But, first year I got 4 hits and 31 at bats. So I was okay with that.
Yeah. Now, you said you're a catcher, right? You mainly play catcher, or
Yes.
Did you play any other positions or just that one?
When I was younger, it was weird because I have a twin brother.
Okay.
So, and he's a lefty. So you think, oh, lefty pitcher, righty catcher.
Right.
But when I was younger, it was, the reverse. My brother would actually catch. I'd be the one on the mound, throwing gas. But when we got to, I guess Pee Wee division, that kind of flipped, My brother just got into more pitching. The coaches didn't want him to catch. They wanted me to. So, and then a little bit of third base and midget. But I've always wanted to be a catcher, and I like getting dirty. That's probably why. So,
now I guess just kind of thinking here as a catcher, like, is there, when you go up to the big club, obviously it's a little different. You're not going to the big leagues, but in terms of like the learning curve for a catcher, maybe compared to another position, right, where you're calling pitches, you're working with pitchers. What's the unique factor, I guess, of being a catcher and adjusting to a different level, maybe compared to any other position on the field?
Yeah, I think the biggest is, like I said before, is the speed.
Yeah.
Junior ball, I maybe saw 80 twice a year.
Right.
Obviously, until we got to eliminations, then you'd see 80, 85 on a regular basis. But that was probably the biggest one. And the spin, too. Like some of these guys that come in, especially you got the imports coming from Cuba and the Dominican Republic, who they can do so many good things with a baseball. Like it's not even fair sometimes. So that was probably the biggest adjustment for me. Obviously, the hitting had something to do with it, but that's totally different than actually catching. But trying to get down and block as quick as I could, especially on those 90, 92 mile an hour fastballs. And it was just it was hard. It was really hard, and I didn't didn't expect it to be as difficult, but then of course, first game that I got to play behind the plate, one of the Dominican pitchers that we had, I can't remember his name to save my life. I can't remember, but yeah, that was, when you first pitch of the game is 90 miles an hour on the black, you're like,
Oof.
wow,
Yeah.
dang, this is different. So yeah, definitely the pitch speed for sure.
So what made you choose to kind of step off the field and get into broadcasting specifically? Was there any other kind of future you had in mind after playing, and specifically what led to roles in front of the camera and the microphone?
Yeah, so the broadcasting idea kind of started, I'd say grade 10, grade 11. So when I was about 17 years old, and we're at that stage in high school where you're like, okay, we kind of have to start choosing what we want to do and trying to pick the right courses, right? So I'm like, you know what? I really enjoyed playing video games and just commentating those. So I'm like, you know what? Let's give this a shot. And yeah, I went to Niagara College for 3 years for broadcasting and got a number of opportunities. I called junior B hockey. There's a chance doing the junior women's hockey league. Biggest opportunity was probably doing the FIBA under 18 basketball championships in St. Catharines a few years ago. So, but yeah, in terms of baseball, it's just, I've been doing hockey so often. I spent 3 seasons with the Niagara Ice Dogs, but I love baseball. That won't change. It'll be my favorite sport until the day I die. So, to get this opportunity with the Sox and kind of step away from playing, just that you get to that point where, and a lot of major leaguers and some of these professional guys who are a lot better than me, it usually comes around 40 years old. They're like, okay, I love this, but it's not really enjoyable to do this every day.
Yeah.
So that's kind of where I was at.
Right.
And, with this opportunity, talking with manager Matt McGovern, I've had a few conversations with Rick Pomerleau over the last couple of years about, announcing. I've done PA a couple of times for them. So this was a nice transition. I've never done baseball, so it's exciting. I'm really excited to do it.
So how do you think your prior experience as a player, especially within the organization, will kind of shape your perspective when commentating and covering the team, do you think?
Well, I think being a catcher really helps.
Yeah.
You look at former catchers, they all turn out to be managers, right? And I think the same can be applied to people who take it up to the booth. You see a lot of ex-players, whichever sport it is, right? Yeah. Who are starting to become color guys and starting to become analysts and covering teams now. So from a catcher standpoint, I think it's going to help, sort of recognizing pitches and trying to figure out what a pitcher exactly is trying to do to hit certain hitters. So, and just seeing the overall field, right? You see everything from behind the plate. You're the only player to start in foul territory before the pitch. So I think that aspect's going to be the biggest. And I know a buddy of mine who also went to school for broadcasting. He's going to join me doing the games kind of, so, we're not doing it alone. It's nice to have 2 voices in the booth. So, and he played as well. So, yeah, definitely being behind the plate and knowing what a pitcher is going to try and do in certain situations and kind of how the defense is lined up. I think that's the biggest part that's going to help me out.
Yeah, for sure. Now, quite the formidable booth then in terms of an experienced one.
Oh, yeah.
What kind of steps do you take to prepare for your new role? Fans might want to know, our new play-by-play broadcaster, what does it take? What goes into it, I guess, when it comes to taking over the role for a new team?
Yeah, so it's really helped that Matt McGovern and I worked together. He kind of brought me on to where he was at in early March, I want to say. So that's been a lot of help. We've kind of discussed baseball a lot more than we probably should be at work, but not a huge deal, no big deal. So yeah, to get prepared, I guess, for the season and for each game is, getting the names correct. And I think that's totally overlooked by a lot of people. I think, it's a simple question. Just go up to the player, or if you can't get the player, just, go up to the manager and say, hey, can you just give me a quick pronunciation on this guy's name? Just to make sure I'm getting it right. So I think that's one of the biggest parts of getting ready for a season, getting ready for a game. And of course, you got to do that for the rest of the clubs in the Intercounty Baseball League, right? So you got to find someone from the other side to try and figure out all of those names. But yeah, one thing I learned in school about preparing to call a game is about 2 hour or two worth of prep for one team. And that's kind of, just getting the research on where these guys played at college, if they have ties to Brantford, trying to find a few storylines to drop in throughout the game if the opportunity presents itself. Because if it doesn't, well, you have something for next game and you have to do a little bit less work, right? So, yeah, I think that's going to be the biggest one is the prep. Is you have to make sure that you're not having too many lulls in the game where you don't have anything to say and you're not just going, oh, ball one in the dirt, oh, strike one high, right?
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, when you get caught up in those, it's a tough little rut to try to get your way out of, especially when it's kind of a nothing game, nothing's going on, and you're not sure where to go with it. And that's why the research helps, right?
Yeah.
And
and you see it in hockey too. I said, done hockey before, and on the radio, I think that helps too. I've done quite a bit of radio, right? And you got no visuals on radio. Here it'll be a little bit better. You got the video, but being able to do radio and the fact that I've done radio before is going to help a little bit to just, fill a little bit more time with maybe something interesting that no one else knew.
Yeah, 100% agree with you there. Let's talk a little bit about this Red Sox team this year heading into 2021. Made a lot of acquisitions in the offseason, from Will Langford out of Queens to Zach Lamprey to Michael DeLuca from U of T. Out of all the acquisitions, which one do you think, or maybe a couple ones if you want, will be most important to the team and will be the most impactful in Brantford this year?
Can I say all the pitchers?
Hey, go for it.
Am I allowed to say that? From all of the arms that Matt McGovern and Nick Burdett have gone out and found, they've done an absolutely great job trying to get quality players on this team, try and get that winning back in Brantford. It's obviously been a tough last 2-3 years for the team, especially since this city is so used to this team winning championships when you go back to the Wayne Foreman days. But yeah, I think the pitchers that Gov and Burdett have gone out and signed are going to be a huge difference maker. From what I've heard from Gov, these guys are absolutely insane. They can paint corners. They can spin pitches in the dirt whenever they want. They can locate phenomenally. So big fan of this pitching staff coming into this year. And then I think one other one that kind of stands out a little bit to me is John Zomba. Played for Hamilton, of course, on the team for the Sox now. So I think that's going to be one that's huge. Obviously, he's played in the league. He knows what needs to be done. So he's one of the hitters for me where I'm like, okay, this could be pretty good if he could get it going early and get it going often.
And of course, to our viewers, some of you just popping in now, if you have a question for Reece about the Red Sox or really anything, be sure to drop it in the chat for us, and we'll try to get to it when we get a chance. So you look around the IBL this year, Reece. What do you think of Brantford's chances to make a run for the championship, when considering sort of the level of competition around the league this year?
Yeah, it's tough, eh? It's one of those years where you go trying to figure out, okay, this guy is signed here, this guy's signed here. Oh, what's this guy going to do? You're kind of trying to figure it out. And, I think Brantford has a pretty good chance to compete. Now, I can't for sure say, oh, yeah, they're definitely winning the title. No, I'm not going to say that for sure because obviously that's hard. All these guys are really good at baseball, and you never know what's going to happen. So from the preliminary lineup that I've gotten from Gov, he's kind of told me what he's thinking, not anything set in stone, but it sounds like the top of our lineup is going to be able to run as in stealing bases and taking the extra base on a single to right field, going first to third, a single to center or left field, and the guy at second going to be able to score. So from that standpoint, I see Brantford definitely having a very good opportunity to compete, especially getting that extra 90 feet and trying to score those one or two extra runs throughout the year. So, yep, I definitely think it's going to be a step up from 2019. And I think there's a chance that Brantford has the ability to finish. Oh, bold prediction here. I think Brantford has a good opportunity to finish top 3 in the IBL this season. I really do. From from all these guys that Gov has brought on, and from the amount of confidence he has in all of these players, it sounds like it's going to be a good year for the Brantford Red Sox.
Well, and if you're a Red Sox fan, you certainly love hearing that. Been a while since fans could attend Arnold Anderson Stadium for a game in person, obviously. Just from your perspective, quickly, any updates from you or the organization in terms of any changes to the stadium, anything like that, in terms of even just the organization, any updates that you have at this point about that?
I think we're still working on kind of the whole situation.
Mm-hmm.
I know last year, especially because it wasn't early in the pandemic, but it wasn't late. So with me coaching midget last year, we weren't really allowed in any dugout. So we were stretched along third base or first base side. Nothing about whether we'll be allowed in the dugout. I know pitchers were more than likely find their way down to the bullpen to start the game. Just easier way to spread out, get guys out of the dugout. So from that standpoint, nothing new has really developed. Again, that's probably a provincial thing. I don't know if that's would be strictly a Brantford thing, but in terms of the team, I think we want fans like really badly. A lot of people in Brantford know what Arnold Anderson Stadium is like when it's a full crowd, when this team is competing for championships and winning ball games. So I know the organization is really, really excited to possibly have the chance, whether it's even, 15 or 25% capacity. I definitely know that we are waiting for that day to try and have Sox Nation back in the stands at Arnold Anderson.
And oddly enough, we have a question right here from Michael. Hi, gentlemen. Question for you, Reece. Will fans be allowed to be back in the park this summer? We kind of already went over that. More of a provincial thing at this point. And Reece, you're not exactly in a position to be able to answer that.
No, I know nothing about science or diseases or anything medical. So,
leave that one to the professionals, I guess. But Michael, we appreciate your question anyways. Before we wrap up today's show, a little more serious, Canada's hockey dad, Walter Gretzky, passed away in March. And I read that he was actually at one point a part owner of the Red Sox, right? We all know about the legacy that Walter leaves behind across the country when it comes to hockey. But having been around Brantford and the Red Sox organization for some time, can you discuss the impact that Walter had in the community and in Brantford?
Yeah, it was not a surprise when you either actually just be at any baseball game, whether it was, the big club, the junior club, Brantford minor baseball, you'd see Walter around. Again, last few years wasn't too often, but it was, I remember doing, I can't remember if it was the first time I did PA for the team or not, but he threw out the first pitch and just, everyone was on their feet from the moment he walked on the field to the moment he left. And even after he left, some people are still clapping. Like, he'd interact with everyone. He was such a nice guy. And it was horrible when the news came out that he had passed away. And as much as he impacted Wayne Gretzky in the world of hockey in Brantford for baseball, because I know Wayne played baseball, there's actually a trophy still in the Baker building, in the whole Cockshut Park area with Wayne Gretzky's name on it. So you just see how good of a ball player he was, despite being such an unbelievable hockey player. So to see Walter not at the field anymore is going to be, it's going to suck. It really will. He always had his autograph pad with him. He was, he'd be handing them out to everybody, all the kids. And, even some of the older folks that always came out, they'd still want to, get a picture with Walter or, get an autograph from Walter. And it was just, it's not going to be a fun time without Walter. It'll still be a fun time. But when you'd see Walter walk into the ballpark, it just, it made it a really happy environment, even if the score really wasn't in Brantford's favor. Yeah,
you put it beautifully there. Absolutely. And carry on in his memory, that's for sure. Last question for you here, Reece. What are you looking forward to most about this 2021 season, aside from just getting back to maybe a sense of normalcy again?
Yeah, the normalcy will be nice. Like I said, the fans in the stands, that'll be awesome. I know London, Welland, they have the stadiums to kind of have people spread out. Brantford does as well. You got people bring their lawn chairs. They sit down the left field line. You always see some kids sneaking out or sneaking into the outfield to try and sit out there. And,
Yeah.
Sometimes you'd hear them chirp the outfielders, and it'd just be funny. And just having people around, I think, is going to be the best part of this 2021 IBL season, is just to get the atmosphere back. You got the umpires back on the field, all the players back on the field, and just to hear the crack of the bat and to hear the ball right into the glove. I think that's the biggest thing I'm looking forward to. And calling games. That's probably going to be a big thing too. Reece,
we thank you so much for joining us today. Great conversation. Good luck this season in Brantford. Good luck with everything else down the stretch here. And be sure to do this in the future, okay?
Yeah, thanks a lot, Jackson. Really appreciate it.
All right, that was Reece Doumani from the Brantford Red Sox. We really appreciate him joining us and had a really great conversation. So if you missed part of it, maybe you joined us halfway through or 3/4 through, or maybe you joined us just now, be sure to go check it out when it is posted on the YouTube channel. So for Jackson Farough, for the IBL, for Rawlings, of course, we appreciate you joining us, and we'll see you next time, everyone.